Good day, everyone. I'm Greg Funderburg here for another installment of Let It Burn, sponsored by Rise Chattanooga and the beautiful 618 restaurant in downtown Chattanooga. Today, we're talking to Dwayne Marshall with the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga.
Hello, my name is Curtis Green, along with my business partner Darian Scott, are the owners of 618 Restaurant and Lounge. We're a proud sponsor of Let It Burn. We're located at 618 Georgia Avenue, where we offer soul food with a modern twist. We're open Tuesday through Sunday, and also you can follow us on all social media platforms. Thank you.
And we're continuing our conversation now with the amazing Dwayne Marshall. How's it going?
It's going great, Greg. Great to be with you today.
Thank you for talking to me. First off, I have to ask you, you've been in Chattanooga just almost 4 years. How in the world did you get to Chattanooga?
Great question. So the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga, where I work, I had been in conversations with the president of the Community Foundation, Megan Jones, for about a year and a half prior to me transitioning to the Community Foundation in 2019. My previous organization where I worked at in Atlanta, the Southeastern Council of Foundations, now Philanthropy Southeast, at one point the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga used to be a member of that organization, and I was always desiring to be more proximate to the community, to address issues that are very passionate to me, such as racial equity, economic mobility, creating prosperity for those who have experienced intergenerational poverty. And I knew based on my conversations with Megan that the foundation was on that journey, and I wanted to be a part of it.
You know, what has it been like for you being in Chattanooga? What has been the most exciting moment for you being here?
Great question. So in the 3.5 years that I have been here, something that initially started off as being a very, very painful moment for all of us, that being the pandemic and COVID-19, I've realized a lot of significant moments of joy despite that pain that we all felt. And what I mean by that is, the Community Foundation, as a result of the role that we often play in the community, we had a very important and unique opportunity to service those who are in critical need, who are losing time on their jobs because of COVID, were losing relatives because of the disease. And as a result of that leaning in, I had a chance to meet some amazing people within this community, and have made some amazing friends and relationships as a result of that. My most significant joy over the 3.5 years that I was here was the meeting of Christopher Ramsey. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he was near and dear to this community. He was a native Chattanoogan. He loved this community. And in the brief time that I had a chance to engage and connect with him, he showed me the potential that this community had. So that's my greatest silver lining, I think, in the time that I've been here.
You know, when you talk about the pandemic, so many people learned something during the pandemic. What did you learn?
I learned the need to be consistently nimble. That you can go into a day or a week or a month or a season with a plan. God oftentimes can have a different one for you and for your community and for your world. I learned the need to lead with my heart. I learned the need to always be empathetic in my service to the community and the lens in which I look through it.
You seem like a man of faith, and that plays a big part in your life. When you think back over your career, over your life, tell us about a time where you felt like your life was spiraling out of control, but you learned a valuable lesson during that season.
It's a great question, Greg. In the summer of 2011, I was at a very difficult moment, both personally and professionally, to the point where I needed to regroup on life, both financially, professionally, et cetera. And at that moment in my career, I decided to move back home to Savannah, move back, staying with my mom, and also using that as an opportunity for me to grow close to my family, because I felt very broken in that moment. But in that season back home, it also allowed me to spend time with my grandfather, who was in essence the true patriarch of our family, the father that I never had growing up. And unbeknownst to me, in that moving back home, which I was very humbled by, I did not know that roughly a year or so after that, he would pass and transition on to glory. So a season in which I felt broken and disappointed in terms of where I was professionally and financially, God was actually giving me an indirect blessing to spend that last chapter with my grandfather, who meant the world to me. So, point being is, the lesson that I learned when I thought that my life was spiraling out of control is, even in those seasons, God sends you blessings that you can't necessarily always see in that moment. But if given the grace of time, you will see.
You know, what did your grandfather teach you in those last few months that he was with us?
Wow. He taught me how to lead and live with grace. He taught me how to lead by one bleeds. And what I mean by that is, he was battling esophageal cancer. And very painful, very difficult to treat disease. And by the time any of us as family members knew, it was really at a stage where it was not a possibility of him having a long period of recovery. What he taught me was, despite the situation that you are in, you can still serve, you can still lead, you can still enjoy life and those who are around you, no matter the circumstance. That's what he taught me. He also taught me, my grandfather spared no words. He would tell you what he felt, no matter how you felt about it. He was brutally honest, brutally direct, and I admired that about him. What you saw is what you got, and he was consistent. And anytime that I needed him, he was there. And those are the things that his impressions and the way that he walked and lived his creed. That's what the impression he left on me.
When you think about being home with your family during that season, you know, cooking is a part of our culture. And so when you think about cooking, do you remember the first time you were in the kitchen with a family member?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Who was it, and what was that experience like for you?
The first time that I was in the kitchen with a family member, without a doubt, was my grandmother. I lived with her consistently for the first early years of my life, because my mom was always working 2 or 3 jobs. And my first memories, fond memories of being in the kitchen, was the unique smells that you have in a kitchen, especially a kitchen with a lot of soul food.
Yes.
And I was always curious about what my grandmother was making. I wasn't trying to cook yet, but I was just trying to eat everything that she was making. And I just remember those fond memories of being able to be her tester for whatever she was making, whether it was collard greens or whether it was some grits. I was the test guy. I was the one who got the spoon and was able to look, Grandma, I think this is on point. So I played that role, and I played that role with pride. That was my first memories of being in the kitchen.
Did she teach you anything that you take with you now?
Probably not. I'll be the first one to admit that I'm not an avid cook, but there are a few dishes that I enjoy making. My grandmother made a lot of great soul food, and so does my mom. My mom, who is actually with us in 618 as we're recording this interview, she's the one who I got a lot of my cooking lessons from.
When you think about some of your favorite recipes, tell us about some of those.
My favorite recipe is the dish that I made today, which is my spaghetti with Italian sausage. Growing up, my mom made it often. Still to this day, we make it together. And it's one of those meals that's relatively inexpensive to make, but it's very healthy, hearty, simple. And I enjoy doing that, not only the cooking part, but also the part that I have the opportunity to make it with her, because we have a very close relationship as a mother and a son. And just having those opportunities to not only enjoy a good meal together, but also enjoy each other's time. It's a very, very precious experience for me.
So this particular recipe, tell us about the recipe. What do we need to get from the grocery store?
Sure. So obviously you can't have spaghetti without spaghetti noodles.
Of course.
Tomato sauce, tomato paste, Italian sausage, which gives so much flavor to the actual spaghetti itself. You need some Italian seasoning, you need some salt, you need some pepper, you need some olive oil so that when you're boiling your water and cooking your noodles, it doesn't stick to the pot. And then you need some TLC. That's pretty much it. Some ground beef. I'm sorry. You gotta have ground beef.
So when you're making your spaghetti, do you mix it all together, or are you one of those that serve it separate?
Cook it separate. Cook the noodles separate and cook the sauce separate, so people can have the option of mixing theirs once they get their plate. But cook the noodles in a separate pot. Obviously, cook the sauce in a separate pot, and then when I prepare it or deliver it, people make it on their own. They typically put the noodles obviously in the bottom, put their sauce on the top, and then mix it up if they want to.
You know, so many people cook with love. What is your love language when you're in the kitchen?
Wow, my love language when I'm in the kitchen. I always have to say quality time, because I enjoy not only preparing a meal, but hopefully if I'm preparing it with somebody else, that makes it even more enjoyable of a meal once we get a chance to eat it, is because we've made it together. Or I have put my time into it while also having that conversation or expressing that moment or sharing that moment with a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, the quality time piece. I think that's my love language when I'm in the kitchen. I like to take my time cooking.
Take your time cooking. I love that. So we're gonna test it out right now. So we're out of the kitchen. We have, what is this again?
This is spaghetti with Italian sausage.
All right.
And a side of garlic toast.
I love it. You got my man Curtis here from 618. Curtis, you do the honors first.
Let's do it.
This is one of my favorite dishes, by the way.
Once again, it's delicious. It's
Thank
great.
you. Thank
Great.
you.
It's great.
Thank you.
The spices are great.
Thank you.
It's really good. Who taught you how to make this?
My mom.
Your mom. Okay.
It's her recipe.
Thanks, Mom. We appreciate it. Any other things going on with the Community Foundation you want to talk about?
Great question, Greg. So as we go into the fall, as I mentioned earlier, the Community Foundation is very passionate about economic mobility and racial equity. So one of the things we want to do, we're going to have our first diversity, equity, and inclusion grant cycle. It's going to be taking place this fall. It's going to be a rotating grant cycle. So as applications come in, they'll be able to tap into our available funding. And then also, for the last 40 years, the Community Foundation has been a home of a lot of scholarships. We have over 70 scholarship programs at the Community Foundation.
Wow.
And we're going to be going into the scholarship season for the class of 2023. So we want to encourage those families out there that may have a high school senior who wants to go to college and pursue their dream of going to get higher education. Please contact the Community Foundation and see if we have any scholarships that fits your son or daughter.
Also, where can we go online to get more details about all of the things that you guys are doing?
They can go to CFGC Community Foundation, cfgc.org to get any information they want.
Sounds good. Dwayne Marshall, our guest today, Curtis Green with 618. And by the way, you got to check out 618. What are your hours again?
We're open Tuesday through Saturday. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, we do lunch from 11 to 4. Then we do 4 p.m. until 9 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday. Then we stay open at 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays.
It's located downtown Chattanooga. Check it out again. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on another edition of Let It Burn, and we'll see you soon.